What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Mile Higher Podcast, episode 38.
We're your hosts, Kendall and Josh.
Yes.
Back for another podcast episode.
And a spooky one because we have decided to just make October a month of kind of spookier topics than we normally cover.
Why not?
Yeah, because I mean, we love it.
Feel those Halloween vibes, and
it's just that time of year, like you just got to get in the mood.
Well, it's like, it's kind of misty outside for most of us. So
it's snowing today here in
it's
Colorado.
Snowing, yeah. Today is just like Christmas.
Yeah, it's so weird because yesterday was such good weather and then overnight snow.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Our state is so weird.
And of course, like the pressure change is so rough on like my chronic pain. So I am like barely getting by. I kind of wanted to mention that to you guys today, just if I seem like tired and I'm yawning a lot. Like I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm trying my best. So
absolutely.
But I'm really excited to talk about this.
Yes, we are very excited to talk about the mysterious disappearance of the Sodder children.
I'm surprised I haven't done this on my channel yet.
This is,
It's always been on my list.
I'm actually surprised too. When looking into this, it's a story that's been around for years because it took place in the 1940s.
It's fascinating.
And it's still unsolved officially as far as what happened to these 5 children that mysteriously just disappeared during an event that occurred at their house. So we'll get into that in a minute, but
not a minute.
Yeah.
Don't expect it in a minute.
Somebody's like, all right, 50, I'm waiting, Josh. All right. You told me this last time and we ended up doing a 40-minute intro here. No.
But we have good intro topics too. So like.
Yeah. We got some good stuff.
All right. Get into it.
But hopefully, if you guys haven't checked out the merch store yet, it's pretty lit. I will say I have a hoodie.
I'm wearing it too.
And a lot of this stuff I designed. So like, even if you just go and like look at it, you don't have to buy anything. Just give me feedback. Cause like
he literally like worked so hard on this.
Yeah.
Hey, check it out though. This is like my favorite merch design that I have. I would say that this is probably my best selling merch. My favorite.
It is. It's one of the
one of my top ones. So.
Conspiracy and shit.
I love this one. And this one is so, we switched to like a new, different type of
just a new provider
shirts. I don't know, and they're so much softer and so much more comfy. I actually slept in this one last night and I wore it again today. Hell yeah. It's that comfortable. So make sure to check that out and don't forget to use the code LAUNCH for 20% off until the end of the month.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, take advantage of that. Also, I've got some new stickers coming in this week, so you don't want to miss those. 5 new stickers are hitting the merch shop. They're awesome too.
Stickers.
And I guarantee you're going to be rocking some on your laptop.
I'm going to have to just start over.
Yeah. You need a new case.
I think maybe I'll start like putting them, once they're done, I'll like put them on the wall and make a just collage of my laptop cases over the years of stickers. Speaking of things for the wall, hang on. I just want to say something real fast. We are almost to the point of getting into this new studio, guys. It's taking a little longer than we thought because we have put a lot of time and effort and quality into this. It is so cool. I cannot wait till you guys see the final product. But we are hoping to get some fan art from you guys. Like anyone who's like an actual artist that can do like a canvas. We want it to be, still like of quality. Well, we're not going to just put up like lined paper because we're not going to like tack it on. We're going to like frame things.
Yeah, we want, things that really fit in with the show and just the topics we talk about that really make sense and you think other people would want to see in the studio because I think that would be really cool. And then what was your other idea you had?
My other idea is for the non-creative like me because I would never be able to make someone something. So that is the idea of sending in a postcard from the city that you live in, no matter where you are in the world, to our P.O. box, and that we can put them all up on the wall. What I'm hoping to do is do like magnet paint and just magnet them all up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Wouldn't that be awesome, guys?
Yeah, because if you're listening and you don't know, this show is being listened to in 60 countries or something crazy. Like, I can't even believe it. Really, like we're sitting here, everybody.
Even someone in China.
Yeah,
I was like shocked. I was like, we got through.
And I know I tweeted out the picture of the map on Twitter.
Yes.
And a lot of you replied and were like, that's me, like on the map, because there was like one little dot in one remote area of Africa or something. It was like crazy to see.
It's so cool. It's cool that you can see all that. And it's come so far because when I first started on YouTube, it was just like a list of countries and how many people. But now you can like see exactly
pinpoint the listeners
and what they're listening on. We can stalk you guys basically. But
no, we really don't. But
before we get started, I have something exciting to share with you guys. if you do not follow me on Instagram or you didn't see in my last video, I have come out with my own adult coloring book. This was such a fun project to do. I filled this book with basically things that I like. There's all types of cool designs in here, like plants. I have crystals in here, the pets, Bernie and Sadie, a lot of like mandalas and stuff. Is that right? Mandalas? That sounds really like over dramatic and weird to say it like that, but
mandala.
But all types of stuff. I have astrology stuff. There's a Taurus bull right here.
And these are like all concepts and designs
here's a
that
UFO.
You came up with. Like these are, and inspired directly from Kendall.
Not my quotes, but they're quotes that I picked out that I like. And I also put in a color test page in the beginning because I like to have that. And then there's also bleed through protection on every page. So there's a page in between each design, which is really nice. There's a total of 34 designs to color, and the book is $14.99 with free shipping on Amazon Prime. So you can check that out, the link below. And in honor of my coloring book, I'm going to color during today's episode because I'm hoping that some of you have your coloring books already. Your coloring books. Your coloring books already, and you're coloring during this too. Because that's one thing I love to do is listen to like an audiobook or a podcast while I color.
Even your own podcast. That's really cool.
I have actually listened to our own while I color.
And if you're not watching this on YouTube, we have little Sadie Wadey with us today behind the booth. So
yeah, she's part of the crew.
Yes. But so to segue things to the next topic is we got a Patron question this week from Brittany. And it's a very, very difficult question. And that is, if you could teleport or time travel, which would you like to see happen first? What would be most important to you? Like, which one would you choose?
Teleporting or time traveling?
Which
time
would you
traveling.
Do? Time traveling.
Definitely.
And I knew you would say this because Kendall and I were just talking about time traveling last night.
Yeah. It was like this morning, I think.
No, it was last night that you were telling me about. I don't know. We talk about time travel like every day.
No, I was talking about it today because I saw this crazy article today that they found this like skull, this little boy's skull from like hundreds of years ago when they believed in vampires, and they thought that people would like rise from the dead because they got the plague, so they would put these giant fucking rocks in their mouth, like not just like a pebble.
So they look like
their
they
jaw
like
looked hyper extended.
Oh my god!
Like and they're buried like that.
Wow, so that's bizarre.
It's like to them that's keeping them down. It like weighs them down.
I got you, because they think like the physical body goes with you after death or something. I guess it must be something because like
some type of ancient thing that they've seen before, but like they haven't seen it in a while. So it was kind of a cool discovery because it's a straight up skull with a like huge, like almost boulder looking rock in there.
That's crazy.
It's huge. Yeah, so pretty wild stuff. But anyway, I was saying to Josh, like how interesting it would be to just have a glimpse into that time period. Like not being part of it because I'm sure shit was crazy. I don't know if I'd want to. Oh my God.
We would walk in there. Any of us would, if we got like time traveled to like that time, it would be.
They'd probably burn us at the stake for being witches or something.
They'd be like,
Yeah,
if
you could like just be a fly on the wall and just watch what life was like even 100 years ago. Like yesterday, Josh's grandma turned 90. We had her 90th birthday, and she was talking about being born in 1993. Or sorry, that's my birthday. 1933, I think. And I just like, it's crazy how fast time goes and how different the world was even.
Just hearing her describe like Detroit, Michigan having like unpaved roads, like like literally like not even that long ago, like how fast like things have built up and things have changed, and then society norms have changed. It's just crazy. It's almost a form of time travel in itself when you sit down with somebody from another, like they're like otherworldly in a lot of ways, like because they're just like totally different.
We just filmed her. We just set up the camera and like let her tell her life story. And it was so interesting. I'm so glad.
And she could have gone on for like hours. She has like a great memory.
Oh yeah,
remembers everything.
You would never guess she's 90. I think she'll live to 100. I seriously don't think she's going anytime.
Dude, she is something else, man.
She is. We love her. So, but anyway, to answer your question, mine would definitely be time traveling because I would love to just see. I would really love to be able to see Egypt. I think that would be so fascinating.
Actually, go, but like. Basically like confirm all of these things that we've been taught or told or know what we believe to be true, so we could actually like see for certain, because it's like now I feel like everything is so loosey-goosey as far as history goes. I mean, obviously there's things that we know happen for sure, but there's also a lot of things that we don't know happen for sure, or is from hearsay or been written down, passed down, things like that. Yes. So, you know, like I'd love to have like a vlog perspective of, you know, the late 1800s, you know, or like back when, you know, you were like riding a horse.
What if YouTubers could like go like time travel and film it for a vlog to like show you a place? It'd be crazy.
Dude, if there's ever like a time travel machine that all of us can get our hands on, how many of you are going to go buy one and time travel?
But I'm sure it'd be so expensive.
But what if they figured out a way that they could do it very cheap, like an app? It would be a long time. App on your, you know.
It'd be a long time for that.
Your microchip or something.
I have no idea.
But that's interesting because time travel for me would be very cool, but teleportation, like long term, would be most beneficial to me, I feel like.
Really?
Because, I mean, to be able to teleport, if you think about it, and if there's no bounds to this teleportory?
I like that.
Teleportation, then I would teleport like to other universes and shit. Like I would like, you know, if I had the ability to teleport, I would assume that I could teleport to like anywhere. If that's part
of it, then that changes
But
things.
if it's just in this world, then yeah.
Because like, what are you going to teleport to the grocery store?
Doop, I'm here.
I'm at Starbucks now.
Yeah.
I guess
that would be super convenient, but like you could literally teleport to like, you know, like the middle of the ocean.
Check out Japan tonight.
Or you could go, what if you could teleport into places?
That would be cool.
I could like teleport into the White House.
Oh.
And then teleport, you know,
you probably get shot if you just like showed up all of a sudden in the White House.
That's true.
They'd be like, what the fuck?
But then the idea of time traveling far into the future is just like way too tempting because fuck, it's a future where
I don't know if I want to see
robots or aliens.
I don't know
or maybe all of the above. I mean, who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, for real.
Have you seen this? There's this Boston Dynamics, I think, is a company robot. And if you've never seen this robot, you need to look it up because this is like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Really advanced technology for a robot. Like it literally runs and moves like a human.
I've seen it.
And now it can do parkour where it's like jumps off of ledges and things like that. Like it looks bizarre. It looks so human like that.
It's like that movie
scary.
iRobot.
Yeah, it literally is.
Dude, I feel like that movie is so accurate to like our future, which is so scary.
Or at least a version of the future.
But like I really want to see if AI would ever turn on us, because I don't know if it would. I feel like we create it. Is it ever going to do anything other than what we create it to do?
But the thing is like maybe
I know we've had this debate so many times.
If it figures out itself, then all bets are off. But why would like?
But
would
why?
a robot want to be inherently evil? Like they don't have a consciousness, you know, per se. They're not like, you know, an evil conscience.
Yeah, so we'll really have to see on that. I mean, it could go either way, I guess.
It could.
Because like robots could be cool as fuck if they were nice.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we talk about that all the time.
It'd be really nice.
It'd be nice. We just had like a humanoid robot to like cook our dinners.
I'm saying that chef.
Cook and clean. Like that's all that they're programmed to do is cook, clean.
Yes, chefing it up. Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome, actually.
Mm-hmm. That'd be really
just cool. Like download like Gordon Ramsay to your to your robot and then have them like whip up food for you. That'd be crazy.
I would get Giada. De Laurentiis.
We love food shows.
She's so good.
But yeah, that's a great question though, Brittany. You guys have the best questions.
His name is Bernie?
No.
Wait, what?
No, her name is Brittany.
Oh, you said it really fast. I was like, wow, someone named Bernie? I've never met an actual other human other than Bernie Sanders. I've never met him either though, so.
Bernie Mac.
Oh yeah. I forgot about him.
There's other Bernies out there.
Well, yeah, duh. Our Bernie.
But as bright as the future seems like, the real reality of things is that there may not be a future.
Great.
And guys, I hate to break this news to you, but things as far as the climate goes are not looking so hot. They are looking really fucking hot, but not so good for us.
It's so terrifying because it feels like there's nothing we can do about it.
It really does. I mean, it's crazy how bad it's going to get if we literally don't do some drastic changes. So basically, if you don't know where this is coming from, basically the UN released a report this week by over 90 authors and editors from over 40 countries. and basically issuing a report on the current state of the climate and where we're at with climate change and what things are looking like. And this was basically a huge warning report from them. The report says that unless the world immediately begins reducing the burning of coal and oil and gas that drive up all the global temperature,
that's the main issue, huh?
The world will suffer tremendous consequences, which means by as early as 2040, guys, it's almost 2020, so that's 22 years from now, the UN says that the global food supplies will be threatened by increasing droughts and heat waves.
That's so
Low-lying
scary.
nations could be flooded by rising sea levels, potentially triggering huge flows of refugees. Fierce storms and wildfires will grow in intensity, costing billions of dollars in damage and lives lost. Which,
hurricanes.
I mean, come on, like we're already seeing all of these things.
You know, it's like happening right in front of our face, and people still don't care or won't admit it.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, this is just a report from the UN, which is trying to urge governments of the world to cut their carbon emissions enough to limit global warming to just 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is only 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit above pre-industrial levels. So,
do you think if we were to replace every single gas car, is that the right terms?
Yeah, like gasoline. Yeah, like oil, anything that uses oil.
What if we replaced every single one on the planet with an electric?
Yes, absolutely.
Would that have a really big effect?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We need to do it, dude. It's like, it's kind of crazy because I think people have this weird idea that like, well, it probably won't be that bad in my lifetime. But like, think about what our great grandchildren are going to deal with.
It's going to be horrible, dude. It's going to be crazy. I don't think that's like,
I don't think it's registering with people. I think they have this thing like, I'll be dead, so it doesn't matter. And that's a horrible, horrible way to think, especially if reincarnation is real, because then you're really fucking yourself over.
Well, I mean, and I don't even think most people think that. I think most people actually give a shit and are like,
yeah, I think the majority
I don't want this planet to go to shit. Mother Earth is like a gift to all of us. And
to me, it's like God.
It's literally, like the fact that we're
doing this to
intentionally damaging the planet to a point where it's not able to recover is shocking. It's just like, it's ridiculous. I mean, we can, the thing is that we can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
My big proponent is, because like getting rid of gas cars is going to be it's going to be hard.
We're just reducing the amount of vehicles. We switched down to one car, but like not everyone can do that. We work from home.
I mean, it's still in the long range. It's minimal, like there's got to be more drastic things.
Yes.
But one thing that we could do to help our planet recover is, I don't know how many of you know about deforestation, but it's alarming. It really is. It's alarming at how many trees are still being cut down for paper and paper products and everything else that trees are used for. And when we have another solution right here in front of us that can do everything that we need the tree to do, obviously minus like building, like using wood to build things, hemp. And it's literally illegal. And the fact that we're still cutting down the Amazon rainforest and stuff, like we're hoping to go there before it gets completely cut down. And it could be cut down or very small by the time, the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
If we don't do something about this. So
yeah, even the Great Barrier Reef when we were there was really disappointing. It was like way less than it used to be because they're being bleached.
It was bleached.
They're dying.
In, areas where it's never been bleached before. And I mean, I have heard that the reef is recovering, which is good. So, and here's the thing. So like on the flip side of things, from a skeptic's perspective, when I see these reports, I also have to stop and think and be like, well, despite the evidence and the science and everything, like, is there a viewpoint that maybe this is just all part of the Earth's natural cycles, and it will recover, it will correct itself, and it doesn't matter what we do, it's not our impact on the planet necessarily that is having the biggest effect. Maybe the Earth is being affected by unknown forces, something else in play entirely. I mean,
yeah, it is interesting to think about, but then there's such a direct correlation and like you said, so much scientific evidence, but I've thought about that too. Like Because obviously we've recovered from the Ice Age.
Well, look at history, like if you look at history, we only know as far back as, the, evidence and things that we've collected tell us. Like, we don't know that the earth hasn't restarted like 100 times prior to our known history.
Yeah.
And, we have no idea. So.
But with the science behind it, it clearly shows us it makes it worse.
Right.
Maybe we're not causing all of it.
Right.
But we're definitely contributing.
Sure.
And we shouldn't be contributing to the death of our mothership. Like, we were born from this. This is like like I said, to me, it's God.
It provides us everything we need to survive. We have nowhere else that does that.
Yeah, you literally got nowhere else but Earth. Does anyone else got anywhere else but Earth to go to?
Is there another Earth
I don't think
out there?
So.
Not
Unless,
anywhere near
some
us.
like elite person probably does. They're like, oh, I got a planet.
Yeah, I mean, just had one built. Well, shit, we're about to find Planet X. That's crazy. So we might find a 10th planet.
We can't even get into this. We're going to go forever. And we have more stories.
Okay. So, yeah, that was the UN's climate change report. Hopefully we can, continue to try to do the best we can as far as helping the planet recover. And, everybody knows what they can do. So thought we would share that. Another thing that was interesting that came out just recently was some essays that revealed that Stephen Hawking, before he died, predicted there could be a new race of superhumans thanks to wealthy people being able to edit their own and their children's DNA. So
interesting. So this definitely goes into what I talked about in my video this week. For those of you who didn't see it, I'll run over it real fast. Basically, these DNA companies like Ancestry and Me, or
Ancestry and Me,
Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, MyHeritage, whatever the hell. You spit in the tube, you send it in, they tell you where you're from, like what percentages. And Josh and I have done this. And then I found out that it turns out this is literally giving them complete ownership of your DNA. They can freeze it, they can sell it, they can copy it, they can clone it. They can do whatever they want with it. In fact, they can try to sell it to you later on in the future. Then that's their main goal. And they kind of admitted that their main goal is not selling these kits.
Yeah.
It's to build up a huge supply of DNA. It's the information,
dude. It's data. Yeah. It's like data that it's like how Google is.
Yeah,
so
23andMe just did a huge deal, sold like 500 million customers information. And they sold it. And you gave them, and you paid them to take it from you and sell it.
Dude, and you don't even get a cut of it either. And
it seems so innocent. You're like, this is so cool. Oh my God, spit in the tube. See where you're from.
I know we don't even think about it.
Yeah,
even
and like
us,
in the future, they could have something like, for example, age reversal, and be like, hey, you want that DNA? Like, we got it in the freezer. But like, wouldn't you have your own DNA still? And
this is clearly going to happen. I feel like this is like, they already know this is coming down the pipe, and like it's only a matter of time. And that's what Stephen Hawking predicted, essentially, that there's a possibility that genetic engineering could create a new species of superhuman that could destroy the rest of humanity.
Great.
Like, we didn't have to worry about, an elite group of people taking us out in the first place.
This hasn't even crossed my brain yet.
Yeah.
Now I have one more thing to worry
Here's
about.
another thing to add to that worry list.
Oh my God, the idea that
robots, but now you got to worry about superhumans.
This is why we can't let the top 1% of the world keep all their money, dude.
No, we got to get
a control on them. They have too much power. Ooh,
dude, what if they could literally do anything? They could literally make them, like, this could literally turn into a fucking, like, I don't even know what type of movie, but like a bunch of imagine if the Kardashians and all these different families, like rich celebrities, Drake and everybody,
they're not even nearly as rich as the rich people of the world. They're not in the
and like it probably wouldn't even be the celebrities. It'd probably be some unknown people that would come out of the woodworks that are like, we are your masters, like bow down to us, or we will destroy you, because they're just so much more intelligent. I mean, that would be some crazy genetic engineering. I don't know if it's that extreme. I mean, I think it might take some time to get to that point.
Yeah,
I think so. The main thing that I've seen with this is that they want to be able to, remove genes that basically are cancer or diseases, things like that, and replace it with good ones, or make you disease, like almost have this natural repellent to diseases and things like that.
Well, that's the stuff with this DNA. It's a double-edged sword, because like
it could be really helpful.
You can find out your, like Josh and I went two different paths. He chose to find out his health information and find out like possible things you might be prone to and whatever.
It's really accurate for sure. Like obviously it's accurate.
Yeah.
It looks for markers in your DNA for various different things. And
I don't
different
want
conditions
insurance companies to hold it against me. So I'm
yeah,
not
now mine's out there, of course. So fuck.
Because I'm sure something's wrong with me.
It's already submitted to some database somewhere.
Because that's the crazy thing is insurance companies can come to you and ask you if you've taken one of these fucking tests. And if you have to tell them. It's illegal to keep that secret. So yeah.
People will though. People aren't going to tell the insurance company. What are the insurance companies going to do?
There's a whole system. My dad was telling me about it. He just got
They'll come
insured.
Investigate you and stuff. They'll start like looking at your social media.
You're logged in the systems of
right. They'll
share
just go
this
to those
information
companies
with the insurance companies.
They'll be like, hey, can you do a lookup on blah 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 and see if you have this shit?
They work with them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if you're caught lying, just like if a doctor tells you, hey, you're like really likely to get this or whatever, you have to tell them. Or if you're a smoker, you can't like lie and say you're not a smoker. If you're like a habitual smoker.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It is true. It's interesting. I didn't know. My dad was teaching me about it the other day because he just started working for Aflac.
Hell yeah, Aflac. Yeah. So that's pretty scary and concerning, but at the same time, it's like it could really help us out, and it could save a lot of lives, and a lot of people could be saved from all these different ailments and things.
The same thing with technology. There's good and bad.
I mean, that's the way the universe, I think, operates is like
everything is good at balance.
A balance,
literally the yin yang.
Positive, negative. Like you see that literally in every part of life, and then it starts to just really make sense that that's clearly how things are supposed to work. There's always this positive, negative flow to energy,
Yeah.
Anyway. Totally. Getting deep here before we get into this mysterious story here.
Those were interesting topics though.
Yeah, they were.
I love talking
this is literally like what we do like after the show we probably just go upstairs and like sit down and like get right back to talking about this shit.
It's always like a competition of like who finds out information first. Like, hey, did you hear about this?
Oh yeah, we like to play this game where you're like, I'll blow your mind before you blow mine. Ready? Let's go.
Josh always wins though. So.
It's because I got my sources, but anyways, let's get into today's creepy story called The Mysterious Disappearance of the Sodder Children.
It's wild, people.
Yeah, it's pretty wild for sure. And actually, I think a lot of you probably will have heard of this before. It's pretty, it's kind of an infamous story per se. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So especially
Italians.
Yeah. Yeah. So for nearly 4 decades, anyone driving down Route 16 near Fayetteville, West Virginia, could see a billboard bearing the grainy images of 5 children, all dark-haired and solemn-eyed, and their names and ages were Maurice, who was 14, Martha, who was 12, Luis, who was 9, Jennie, who was 8, Betty, who was 5. And there's this billboard that was up for years about these missing 5 children. And
it looks so similar.
It does.
You can tell they're related. They have like some serious.
Yeah, they really do have a lot of
eyebrows.
They definitely look alike, or look like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So they lived in Fayetteville, which is a small town with a main street that doesn't run longer than 100 yards. And rumors in this story always played a larger role in this case rather than evidence. And no one has been able to agree on whether or not these 5 children who mysteriously disappeared are alive or dead. But what everyone does know for certain is that on the night before Christmas in 1945, George and Jennie Sodder and their 9 of their 10 children went to sleep. One son at the time was in the army, or away at the army, and around 1 a.m. a fire broke out. George and Jennie and 4 of their children escaped, but the other 5 were never seen again. George had tried to save them, breaking a window to enter the house, slicing a swath of skin from his arm. He could see nothing through the smoke and fire which had swept through all of the downstairs rooms, living and dining room, kitchen, office, and his and Jennie's bedroom. He began to think frantically, where is the rest of my children? 2-year-old Sylvia, whose crib was in their bedroom, was safe outside, as was 17-year-old Marion and 2 sons, 23-year-old John and 16-year-old George Jr., who had fled the upstairs bedroom they shared. as their hair was literally on fire on the way out.
Jeez, that's so scary.
He figured Maurice, Martha, Louise, Jennie, and Betty still had to be up there, cowering into the 2 bedrooms on either end of the hallway, separated by a staircase that was now engulfed in flames. And this house is like a very big house for obviously this many children. And so I just picture a big staircase going up and the bedrooms, like it reminds me of like a movie or
This Is Us.
Yeah. It's probably.
Oh, don't give any spoilers.
Yeah, Jesus.
But goddamn, I mean, it's like season 2 by now, right? Season 3?
No, it's season 2.
People can't be like, spoiler alert. People still say spoiler alert for me for like Grey's Anatomy, for things that happen in like season 10. Like, dude. Catch up. Sorry, real fast. Is like a TV on upstairs or something? Because there is definitely sound up there.
Oh, it might be the football game's probably still on.
Yeah, I feel like it's like football announcers or something, but I turned it off.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like weirded out, because I hear something for sure. I thought it was the cats running, but then I heard voices. Now I'm scared.
We're having a paranormal experience right now.
Wait, yeah. Get the vlog camera and act really scared. Make a scared face. That's like the new thing to do, is like act like you're scared shitless on YouTube.
All right, sorry guys, back to the story.
I think it stopped.
Did it?
I don't know. Hopefully we're not gonna die. That would be ironic.
Please don't say that. Good God.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Deep breath.
Oh my God, we're fine.
All right. So George raced
a security system
outside, hoping to reach the children through the upstairs windows, but the ladder he always kept propped up against the house was strangely missing. An idea struck him. He would drive one of his 2 coal trucks up to the house and climb atop it to reach the windows, but even though they'd functioned perfectly the day before, neither truck would start.
What?
Neither truck would turn on.
And if people confirm that, or is that just like according to the dad?
No, it didn't. I mean, it didn't turn on, yeah.
Oh, it really didn't. What on earth? That's some bad luck.
So that didn't work. So he tried to scoop water from a rain barrel, but it was frozen solid because this was in the winter. So one thing after another to try to just get to his kids, like get up there and try to get to the upstairs bedroom.
And use like ice to defend himself?
Well, he was going to try to like pour water, I think, up there to try, I guess, try to get in or get on top of the car and pour water.
What else are you going to do other than just sit there and watch?
I mean, watch your house burn down.
That's
like,
so
I would
scary.
do that. I would run back in and try to like save my kids. I have 5 kids in there. I'd be like, we're like frantically.
It's crazy how like common house fires were back then too.
Even today, like they happen a lot. Like I did a Google.
But we have
of, like,
different, you know, approaches to it. Now
well,
it's like
it's
smoke detectors and
That's very true. Yeah, your chances of surviving it are far greater than it was back in 1945. So, for sure. But George knew that 5 of his children were stuck somewhere inside the whipping ropes of smoke, which the house is just tons of smoke. It's clearly engulfed. And all the while, George didn't notice that his arm was bleeding and that his voice hurt so bad from screaming his kids' names. His daughter Marianne sprinted to a neighbor's home to call the Fayetteville Fire Department, but couldn't get any operator response. What's really shitty is the time period, because back then you had to call the operator to just like call the fire department, you know, like if in an emergency.
Yeah.
And there was no like if the operator didn't like connect your call, you're just like not getting through. Like can't even imagine time like that. God, that'd be crazy.
Dude, how about before they even had an operator and a phone?
Yeah.
Like there was no one to call. You scream and hope someone hears you.
Yeah, literally.
That's it.
God. It's crazy. It really is. It's just, again, it goes back to, this is just such, like, to go back to this time period, even 1945, we'd be like, whoa, how the fuck did you guys live? Like, this is crazy.
Should I go upstairs and check?
No. Oh my God.
I hear something.
It's the TV, I'm pretty sure.
I turned it off, though.
Okay, well, Meatball flipped it back on.
Well, what if I die if I go up there?
Then,
all right, keep going. I'm going to go real fast.
Are you serious right now?
I have to go to the bathroom anyway. I'll be really fast. I have to know, dude. I don't want to die.
All right.
I'm not trying to die.
I'm not either, so make sure you... Oh my God. All right. So A neighbor who was nearby saw the blaze and actually made a call from a nearby tavern, but again, the operator did not answer. So what, I mean, I guess they didn't have operators on 24/7, which doesn't make any sense because, like, why? What if you have an emergency like this situation where you need to get help fast, but nobody's fucking there to listen? So, exasperated, the neighbor then drove into town and tracked down the fire chief, F.J. Morris, who initiated Fayetteville's version of a fire alarm, which was a phone tree system whereby one firefighter phoned another, who then phoned another. So it was literally like the telephone game, like, hey, you call Bob, you call, Jimmy, and we got a fireman, like, we got to go. So obviously not the most, efficient system, but this was how it worked back then. Which the fire department was only 2.5 miles away from the house, but the crew didn't arrive until 8 a.m. 8 a.m. By which, at this point in time, the Sodders home had been reduced to a smoking pile of ash. George and Jennie assumed that 5 of their children were dead, but a brief search of the grounds on Christmas Day turned up no trace of remains. So that's the big mystery here is if they were inside the house and, the house burned down, and obviously they wouldn't have made it, where were their bodies? Because most of the times in house fires, you do have a body or you have some type of, human remains, bone fragments left over. And in this case, it seemed that there was absolutely no trace whatsoever of the missing children, the 5 children.
We must be tripping. There's nothing up there. There's no TV on.
Whoa.
There's
dude.
No sound. And Meatball and Tucker are asleep in the same spot on the couch. Because you heard stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's our cats.
I thought I did, but maybe I was just hearing stuff because you were telling me I was hearing stuff.
No, I for sure did. Oh, am I going crazy? It was like the ghost of the Sodder children or something. I heard voices. I was so sure. I was like shaking going upstairs. I'm like, what if I literally looked under the door like to see if there's any front feet, but there's nothing up there. So, all right.
Well, that makes me feel better.
It's kind of creepy though. Like I'm really confused about where the sound was coming from.
Well,
maybe I just literally heard it. Okay.
They're anyone's welcome to join.
What? Are you talking to the spirits?
If it's anybody or anything.
No, don't tell them that.
Okay. All right.
You're welcome to stay, but don't scare us. That's like real. You can't say that shit.
Okay. I guess
someone told me, a subscriber told me, like, if you ever feel like there's like ghosts around or spirits and you feel scared, you just
invite
say,
them in.
Hi, you can stay. That's okay. But like, I'm a little scared. Please don't scare me. Thanks.
You think they understand the don't scare me part?
Well, I did it that one time when I thought there was a ghost in our apartment for like months and it stopped. As soon as I did that, it just stopped.
Sure, it wasn't just a piece of your imagination, like
no,
wild.
It could have been
brain
an
playing tricks
ancestor,
on you.
Who knows?
Could be.
I saw something.
Yeah, I believe
Link the video below. My paranormal experience, the only one I ever had. It was really scary though. Anyway.
But back to the story. So the house is burned down. It's the next day, and there's no remains of the 5 children.
Yes, and that is the weirdest thing because, like, I feel like we've had a few cases now where bodies have been burned and been in fire, and they're still there, and they're just charred. Like, for instance, that the whole idea of the human combustion, just spontaneous combustion.
Sure, yeah.
That one dude, like, burned from the inside, and he still had remains of his body there.
Yeah,
so,
that's
like,
the
really
thing. Is
none
like,
of them.
That's the thing. Is like I think it's.
That seems.
I don't want to say
very
rare,
fishy.
but I think it's rather infrequent that, when a house burns down or somebody gets burned alive or killed, there's nothing left of them. Like there's usually a body or there's remains or, bones left. Yeah. And the fact that for all 5 of them,
that's
gone,
weird.
like what are the chances of that, So this is the interesting part about this is like the whole, one of the debates about this is that was this fire hot enough, capable of fully disintegrating 5 children's bodies?
I feel like you'd at least find ash. Nothing? Really? Nothing? Sorry. But really, nothing. That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that. I don't think I've ever heard of a case where someone's body was just like poof.
I mean, there's ash probably because there's ash just from burning shit.
But wouldn't they have like tested?
But like there would be human, like there would be like you
and
clearly
a dog could smell
stuff
it.
that would.
Right? Or can they even smell it after a fire? Maybe not. I don't know if they can smell like charred body.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I did my research, and according to my research, a typical house fire burns at 11,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jeez.
In order to fully, completely, burn through bones, cremate bones, make them disintegrate, the fire's got to be at least 15,000 degrees. Yeah. So, like crematoriums and places where they cremate bodies, they have like a fucking
extremely hot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a blast oven. Like that sounds really bad, but they have, they have the ability to create extremely hot, blazes. Yeah. But then I even saw that during the cremation process that after the first part, sometimes there's even after that 15,000 degree blast, they then have to like hit the afterburner because there's still like bone left. Like,
I hate thinking about cremation. Like, I'm never doing that. Ugh.
Yeah, it's maybe
I will.
It's kind of crazy, but so that would basically mean that this house would have had to been like an inferno. Like this thing would have had to been 15,000 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 2 hours to do this.
And the chances of it happening to all 4 kids.
And that's the thing is like,
5. Sorry.
That would have to be just like a wicked fire. Like, just like
so hot,
which is possible that it could have just been in this unheard fire that got really hot for whatever reason. I mean, it was a big house, so it could have gotten really hot. And it could have been hot enough to do this because it wasn't like put out till like 8 a.m.
Oh.
So it was like, it had burned all the way through and was like smoldering by the time they got there.
Well, that makes sense. Like, I think with 9/11, they didn't find all the bodies. Or like when there's like big fires, like the Chicago fire or that factory fire.
Right.
Like,
That's the thing is it's not. So, I mean, usually they find like remains, like
most of them,
different types, whether it's bones or something else, like to like consistently do like a whole body disintegrate to nothing is like pretty hard. Like the chances are a lot lower.
It's very odd.
So that was sort of the big question with this, and the fire chief, Chief Moore, suggested that the blaze was capable of cremating the bodies. A state police inspector also combed the rubble and attributed the fire to faulty wiring, which
that could be it. I mean, that definitely can happen.
And then after this like brief investigation was done, George then bulldozed the property. Just that's like weird. Instead of making sure you figure out your children aren't possibly there, like in that site, because they basically told him. I mean, he just went by what the police and what the fire told him. At first he was like, hey, they must have burned in the thing. So he was like, all right, well then we gotta, get rid of it and, build a memorial garden for them there. That was his plan.
Which kind of makes sense. Like back then people did do work for themselves. They did like construction and stuff for their own family. So it's not that unusual. Sorry, I kicked the table again. Jeez.
It's okay. So, yeah. So he did that. And then the coroner's office issued 5 death certificates just before the new year, attributing the causes to fire or suffocation. So basically just going with the report that, these 5 children died in this fire. So that's basically the premise of the main story. Now we get to dig in a bit more because after this official investigation, George and his wife just start thinking about this more, and they start realizing that this doesn't really make sense and that there's a lot of unanswered questions about what happened. So they began to wonder if it's possible if their 5 children are still alive.
Well, because like immediately my thoughts are like maybe the dad killed them and like just burned the bodies to hide the evidence in the crime scene, which makes sense. A lot of people do that. But like why would you bring that up and be like, hey, none of this makes sense. I don't think they actually died in a fire.
Right.
If
you
that
would
was
just
your plan.
go with their story.
Yeah, go with your original plan.
Close case, move on,
Yeah, you certainly wouldn't go back to the police or,
Well, I mean, I think he just legitimately was like, this doesn't make sense. And, I think as he started talking to other people and starting hearing more opinions about this case, he started realizing
this is weird.
This is really bizarre. It clearly as we'll see, things start pointing to maybe somebody intentionally started this fire to either, abduct my children or something else malicious. So let's talk
I guess someone could come in, a child snatcher, but who's going to come in and get 5 kids at once?
Yeah. In
That's
their
weird.
house too?
Because you could think if it was 1 or 2 kids, then maybe they went up, took them, and then set the house on fire because they're just evil. But 5?
But it doesn't really make logical sense.
No.
It doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
Steal 5 kids unless there's more than one person.
Right. So to understand some of the other theories that are out there, we have to know a little bit more about George, the father. So George Sodder was born in Giorgio Soddu in Tula, Sardinia in 1895 and immigrated to the United States in 1908 when he was 13 years old. And an older brother who had accompanied him to Ellis Island immediately returned to Italy, leaving George on his own. He found work on the Pennsylvania railroads, carrying water and supplies to the laborers, and after a few years moved to Smithers, West Virginia.
Smithers, I like that.
Smart and ambitious, he first worked as a driver and then launched his own trucking company, hauling dirt for construction and later freight and coal. One day, he walked into a local store called the Music Box and met the owner's daughter, Jennie Cipriani, who had come over from Italy when she was 3. They married and had 10 children between 1923 and 1945, which obviously the 5 are a part of that. And then they settled in Fayetteville, West Virginia, which again is an Appalachian town with an active Italian immigrant community. The Sodders were said by some that they were one of the most respected middle-class families around. So this was a pretty, nothing really sketchy at first glance at the family or anything like that. This is your all, kind of, I guess, all American family or,
all Italian.
All Italian American family.
So they weren't in Italy? Why did I think this was in Italy?
You thought this was in Italy?
You said that they were Italian. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Italian immigrants,
I don't know what I was thinking. That makes sense, brah.
All right, but George held strong opinions about everything from business to current events and politics, but was for some reason reserved to talk about his youth. He never explained what had happened back in Italy to make him want to leave. The Sodders planted flowers across the space where their house had stood and begun to stitch together a series of odd events leading up to the fire. There was a stranger who appeared at the home a few months earlier, back in the fall, asking about hauling work. He meandered to the back of the house, pointed to 2 separate fuse boxes, and said, "This is going to cause a fire someday." Strange, George thought, especially since he had just had the wiring checked by the local power company, which pronounced it in fine condition. And this is what's kind of just eerie and weird about this, is these people, when they start, this is why they started thinking something sketchy was up, because it's just they had these weird things, like somebody came to the house and was like, hey, that's going to cause a fire. And you're like, what do you mean?
What? They just
I'd
showed
be weirded
up?
out if somebody came over to our house, was like, hey man, all those wires are going to catch on fire. So yeah, you should deal with that. And be like, dude, I just had the electrician out. We're good.
We've actually had annoying solicitors that are pretty much the same as that.
Yeah.
But maybe it was one of his friends. I mean, for all we know, it's lost in translation or something weird. Not actual translation, but you know what I mean. It's an old story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes all the details don't make it in, and maybe he did know him, or maybe he was there for a reason.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we don't know him personally.
That's far what we know.
You got to keep that in mind for sure. So around that same time, another man actually tried to sell the family life insurance and became angry when George declined. He actually said, "Your goddamn house is going up in smoke."
Oh my God.
This guy warned that also your children are going to be destroyed.
Oh Okay, well then it was probably that guy.
You are going to be paid for the dirty remarks you have been making about Mussolini.
Oh.
Which George was very outspoken about his distaste for the Italian dictator.
He was a real fuck.
So he would get in heated arguments with other members of the Italian community about Mussolini. So there were some people, some like Italian people that did not like him.
Interesting.
Because of his viewpoints.
Well, so it's kind of weird that he waited so long to like connect the dots.
Like,
I would be like, dude, it was that dude then. It was literally him. I would know right away who it was. It took him a while to be like, oh, wait, this is a little weird.
He didn't take it seriously. He thought it was just like fucking with him.
Yeah, but then once it actually happens, why don't you immediately
like, holy fuck, this guy totally said he was going to do this.
But didn't he say he waited a little while and like thought about it, and then they decided that the clues were all weird once he had talked to people? Like, I'm just saying, why didn't he like right away suspect that guy? If he literally told him your house is going to burn and your kids will die.
Why did he be like, oh, that fucking guy?
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah.
Like, how often does someone say that
again, I don't know for sure because I don't think anybody knows exactly the order he thought these things in. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that if it were me and I had fucking had some crazy fuck come to my door saying he's going to burn my house down and kill my children, I'd be like, that fucking guy.
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah. Totally. What's also interesting, though, is that the older Sodder sons also recalled something very weird. Just before Christmas, they noticed a man parked along U.S. Highway 21, intently watching the younger kids as they came home from school.
Oh, that's creepy.
That's creepy,
so
too.
Weird.
That's so fucking creepy. And
have you ever seen that? Like, seen someone, like, just creeping on kids? Like, and you don't even really know if they are. Like, you're like,
I wish I could go back when I used to be around school all the time. I could, like, just, like, see who looks kind of suspicious, you know?
In my sorority, we would do these, like, little dances out on the lawn. It sounds so dumb because it is. But,
it literally is as dumb as it sounds.
Yeah. But we would, like, dance around, like, sing these little songs. And, like, we're a bunch of sorority girls. And then this one dude was just watching us from across the street. Like, just standing there. For a long time, and no one else noticed it. And I was just like wigging out for like 5 minutes, and then I finally went and told
someone.
Gonna,
like, and ignore this guy over here, fucking just like staring at us.
Our house mom like went over there, but he was actually like he claimed to be like a Guatemalan, like he was doing like some type of exchange program, and he like works with kindergartners in Guatemala, and he said we reminded him of the kindergartners.
That I actually believe that shit.
I know it seemed like that was actually what he. Yeah, but
you guys look like a bunch of elementary kids, just like
we probably did. We were like running around. I don't even know. So
Kumbaya.
No, but like I've definitely seen people just like at a park that I'm like, who's your kid? Yeah,
dude.
And there's like creepy stuff.
Dude.
Like J.C. Lee Dugard, remember she was kidnapped by this guy, and he would go to the park and have his wife film him. I have a video on it if you haven't seen it. She would just film him, and then she would actually focus in on kids behind him so that they could like stalk kids that went to that park and like figure out who they wanted to take. So it's like, well, what do you do in that situation? Because I've been there where I'm like, this is weird. This guy's giving me weird vibes. But like, what do? You call the cops and say, hey, this person's like weird.
I mean,
but like,
if you feel like he's a threat, absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
Because
but what if you really don't know, and it's like, it could
you don't
be someone's
like
grandpa or something. I don't know. It's just I've been in weird situations.
You watch him like a fucking hawk. Is all I gotta say.
Yes.
No matter how old they are, either, because it doesn't like. There's old men that are like abducting girls too. Like
creepies.
Doesn't matter. Be vigilant.
Look at Sadie's paw.
Oh yeah. She's actually taking a nap today, guys. You can't even see her. Yeah. Bummers.
Oh.
Should get her up so she can be seen.
I'll get her later.
All right. Anyways, around 12:30 on Christmas morning, after the children had opened a few presents and everyone had gone to sleep, the shrill ring of the telephone broke the quiet. Jennie rushed to answer it. An unfamiliar female voice asked for an unfamiliar name. There was wild laughter and glasses clinking in the background. Jennie said, "You have the wrong number," and hung up. So just a weird thing that she's recalling that maybe could be involved, I think. Tiptoeing back to bed, she noticed that all the downstairs lights were still on and the curtains were open. The front door was unlocked, and she saw Marion asleep on the sofa in the living room and assumed that the other kids were upstairs in bed. She turned off the lights and closed the curtains, locked the door, and returned to her room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So someone could have taken the 5 of them.
Well, but there was Marion downstairs, and that's like the biggest like debunk for it is like
she was just chilling.
Like What are you going to take him out the upstairs window? Maybe. But most likely you're going to go through the front. So, and that phone call just adds to the weirdness to it all. Like just a random person like clinking glasses and like laughing and shit. Like,
what the fuck?
That's weird. That's creepy.
I wonder like how anti-Mussolini he was. Like, was he like involved? Was he protesting? Was he like threatening him? I wonder if it could have even been government related.
Yeah. I mean,
like they used to do that kind of shit. Like you hear about someone that's really pushing the boundaries, take him out.
There you go. No, that's actually a great point. I don't think I've even seen anybody theorize that maybe it was some type of government, but he was like anti-communism. So he was like a good guy person. Like he was like, he wasn't for Mussolini. There was people that lived in the community that liked Mussolini, the dictator. And he was like, fuck Mussolini, like fuck dictator, fuck communism.
So he would be like, fuck you, you're a threat.
So are you saying like the Italian government?
Yeah,
like
that's
Mussolini could have had him like in a little town and
I keep forgetting they're not in Italy. So I guess that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But it's not like they don't have people in different countries. I don't know. It's just a thought. It probably doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay, anyway.
I was trying to rationalize. I was like,
well, fail.
All right. Anyways, good theory. So anyway, Jennie dozed off to sleep, but she woke up when she heard a sharp, loud bang on the roof and then a rolling noise.
It's like Santa.
Like
what is it in the rhyme? Roof. It's like, and this is on Christmas too. 'Twas the night of Christmas.
Yeah. But then an hour later,
it says rose such a clatter. Yeah.
I mean, it sounded like something rolling down, like you threw a can on the roof.
Oh.
Cool. And then you hear it kind of rolling down the side of the roof.
Someone could have thrown a fucking like bomb up there. Or something.
Who fucking knows? Yeah, they could have threw like a flaming thing.
Dynamite,
grenade or something.
Probably like dynamite back then or something.
Yeah, exactly. It could have totally been that.
Because like if they were blown up, the kids, maybe you wouldn't find their remains.
True.
I don't know.
But after she heard that noise, an hour later, she woke up again. But this time it was from heavy smoke coming into her room. Which that sounds like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Can you imagine waking up like in the middle of the night and your room is just filled with smoke and your house is on fire? Like,
yeah, and you have to immediately take action. Like you can't even waste a second.
Yeah, you go into like, fight or flight mode and you're like, I could die.
You don't even know where to go. That's like what's so scary.
That's why it's important to practice a fire plan.
And
it's true.
We have never done that. So well, maybe we should make one.
All right, we're going to do make fire
one for
drills.
Pets too.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear is that the house will like light on fire and like the cats will not get out or something. Because I know the dogs would follow us, but like the cats would be weird.
Have to just wish for the best.
I'd go in. No.
All right, save the cats.
I would save my Lily.
All right. You got to save yourself though.
No, I have to save Lily first. She's my soulmate. She literally is. I'm nothing without
I know, I would be nothing without my meatball. I'd be just a shell of a human.
So funny. Some people probably don't know
my cat is named Meatball, so
Josh named her. So I take no responsibility for that.
Yeah. I can't even give you a reason for why. So.
Yeah, it was like 5 years ago.
All right, so here's the interesting thing about this is that Jennie, the mom, could not understand how her 5 children could perish in a fire and leave no bones, no flesh, no nothing.
Not possible.
She even conducted her own experiment, burning animal bones, chicken bones, beef joints, pork chop bones to see if the fire consumed them. Which, I mean, similar thing, but obviously she can't get it to be like 1500 degrees. But each time she was just left with a heap of charred bones, and she knew that the remnants of various household appliances had been found in the burned out basement, still identifiable. An employee at the crematorium informed her that bones remain after bodies are burned for 2 hours at 2000 degrees. Their house was destroyed in 45 minutes.
Oh, it was. I thought the fire wasn't put out till the morning.
It was destroyed in 45 minutes. Like it was like smoldering. It wasn't like on fire because like it burned through everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the thing is that like it burned through and destroyed itself.
Yeah.
So I think that insinuates that it was a very hot fire. Clearly, it was like, but again, like this is in 1945. Like houses were not fire retardant like they are now. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they like when they went up like in flames. Like the paint was flammable, because that's the thing is like a lot of people don't know is like all the materials in your house now have been like made flame retardant for the most part, I think. Yeah. So that in the event of a house fire, like everything doesn't catch on fire immediately, and you know, you're literally trapped in a, you know, ring of fire. Like I had to
into a burning ring of fire.
All right.
I went down, down, down.
The flames went higher.
And it burned. I can't even go that low.
This is so insensitive.
This is the classiest podcast on the internet.
We're talking about the poor Sodder children. We're singing
what the fuck? I feel bad, but it just was funny the way you said that. Hey.
All right.
You know what? Sometimes when you're talking about this dark stuff all the time, you have to let in a little smile, I've learned. Or else you literally go crazy and never want to get out of your bed.
So things just get weirder and weirder with this. A telephone repairman told the Sodders that their lines appeared to have been cut, not burned. Which I think is absolutely true. I think they're... So basically, they couldn't even get through the operator because their fucking phone line was cut. They couldn't even contact... Like, so somebody cut it. This. Somebody intentionally... It seems very likely that somebody intentionally started the blaze.
And I really thought it was the father, but now I don't. Weird.
Well, it seems like the attack clearly came from the outside. Like, it started on the outside.
Yeah.
And then came into the inside. Mm-hmm. Because that's almost like what I picture it is like the top of the house is on fire and then it goes burned like downwards. Like,
yeah, I think, I mean, if something landed on the roof.
I'm just saying like, yeah, like if you threw like a, you know.
Yeah, whatever.
God, what are those flaming bottles called? I can't even think of it. No. Like just even like a bottle bomb. What are they called?
Water bottle bomb?
No. Like you could take like a glass bottle, rag, gasoline, throw it.
Oh, yeah.
Throw it onto the, you know, throw that onto the roof. There's a word
for it.
What is that called?
Oh, it's going to annoy me. Whatever.
But what if they did that and it caught the roof on fire and then the house started burning? Like the roof would have just been burned up because like all the materials are like super flammable. It's just fueling it, making it bigger. So it's just like, just massive fire. So they also realized that if the fire had been electrical, the result of faulty wiring, as the official report stated, would not have made sense for what actually happened. Because in that event, if it was faulty wiring, then why would the power have still been on?
Yeah. Yeah.
The downstairs room were still lighted. So that's like the official report's like, one of the fires must have popped, the fuse box, something blew up.
They probably just didn't know.
And you know, well, that's the thing. It's like, like how well of an, you know, investigation was this? Like clearly not that big of an investigation, you know. Oh. That they came to the conclusion almost immediately that it was just faulty wiring that it caught on fire. What's also interesting is that a witness came forward claiming he saw a man at the fire scene taking a block and tackle used for removing car engines. Could he be the reason George's trucks refused to start? So that's just weird, is like all these different things seem to be happening at the same time. Like somebody's cutting the phone line, somebody's removing, like fucking with the cars, almost like a planned attack on them. Like somebody's like, all right, we know they're going to go their car to try to get help. We got to disable that, cut the telephone. It seems like
there must have been more to this beef with this guy.
Yeah.
So wait, who was he again? He was just an electrician?
He was an insurance salesman.
Oh, insurance salesman, right. And he just randomly was
mad. But
that's
the thing is, like, I don't know who he was exactly.
What is this guy burned down every client who says no?
No. Like, I think it was probably somebody that he knew.
Yeah.
Maybe even like somebody that was like a Mussolini supporter or something that didn't like him or was, you know, had beef with him in the past.
Yeah.
That maybe did this. Or it was a gang. What if there's a fucking gang, a mafia? That's one of the theories, is like Italian mafia.
That's what I'm saying. They are over here. It's not like the mob wasn't here.
No, not at all.
So like I think it absolutely could have been something like that.
Yeah.
Especially because of the style. It's like perfect execution of it. They like were so known for doing things.
Oh,
like
yeah.
this,
I mean,
too.
they were like, they're some of the most, infamous
criminals of the time for sure.
Just their complexity of their operations was like insane.
Yeah, for the time.
They were, organized criminals. They were, elite gangs basically. So I think that's a huge possibility, especially with all these witnesses saying that they saw random men lurking about the house, possibly stealing from the cars. So that's very weird. What's also interesting is that one day while the family was visiting the site, Sylvia actually found a hard rubber object in the yard. Jennie recalled hearing that hard thud on the roof and then the rolling sound. George concluded it was a napalm pineapple bomb of the type used in warfare. There's your answer.
Napalm?
A napalm pineapple bomb. So
interesting.
Napalm pineapple.
Bomb.
Yeah.
Sounds yummy.
I actually think I've seen what that looks like before. So that's crazy. I mean, George boom. That could totally be.
Yeah.
It's like a little metal object.
Yeah.
That could totally be thrown up on the roof and roll down. It's like a grenade, pretty much.
But why wouldn't they try harder to like kill him? I guess they just wanted. It probably would hurt him more to have his kids die than for him to die himself.
Yeah, or maybe they weren't ever intending on anybody dying. Like maybe they thought, okay, just everybody will get out.
The insurance thing, yeah.
But I don't know. This seems so deliberate. Like it seemed like they didn't even want them to get help or call the fire department.
Oh, it's so weird.
Then came the reports of sightings.
Ooh.
A woman claimed to have seen the missing children looking out from a passing car while the fire was in progress.
Wow. Oh, that's so weird. So how old would they be now? They wouldn't be alive.
Yeah, they'd be old. They'd be old. They'd be
like
70s. Like one of them is alive and they're 70 years or somewhere in that range.
One of them is alive?
Yeah, there's you'll see there's
one of the kids that lived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's still only 5
out
of the 10.
The 10.
Yeah. So there is one that I think is still alive today.
Interesting.
Yeah. What's also interesting is that a woman operating a tourist stop between Fayetteville and Charleston, some 50 miles west, said she saw the children the morning after the fire. She said, "I served them breakfast," and she told this to the police. There was a car with Florida license plates at the tourist court too. A woman at a Charleston hotel saw the children's photos in a newspaper and said she had seen 4 of the 5 a week after the fire. The children were accompanied by 2 women and 2 men, all Italian, she said in a statement, but she does not remember the exact date. So it's basically these eyewitness statements that are also like, for the parents being like, whoa, like this, they could still be alive. Like they legitimately thought there was a possibility that they somehow got out of the house maybe before.
That would be so awful, I think,
that'd be crazy.
As a parent. Like it would be way easier to just know that they died in the fire and move on with your life. But to think that they may have not even been in it and they got taken, like I can't even imagine how stressed out you would feel.
Yeah. I mean, I think in this scenario, if your kids, mysteriously disappear and you don't know if they're, alive or dead, like you would want to know, like whatever way you could, like, look at every angle. You got to consider everything.
Yeah.
I mean, because like, how do you know that person's not telling the truth, that person did not see your kids in somebody's car driving?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know for sure?
Yeah.
You can't know.
No.
So there's always that possibility, a small chance, as small as it may be and unlikely as it may be, that your kids could have totally been abducted, been taken somewhere, and these witnesses saw them in these different places. What's also interesting is that the entire party, let's see, this is the entire party this is a group at a hotel that stayed in a large room with several beds. And this party registered about midnight, and they said they tried to talk to the children that they believed were the missing ones in a friendly manner, but the men appeared hostile and refused to allow me to talk to these children. One of the men looked at me in a hostile manner. He then turned around and began talking rapidly in Italian. Immediately, the whole party stopped talking to me. I sensed that I was being frozen out, and so I said nothing more. They left early the next morning. So this was the part of the statement from the woman at the Charleston Hotel, who said she saw the children come in with this group of people. So it's possible that the Italian mafia or whoever this group of individuals are, maybe they're even,
I think
human
to make such a
traffickers
planned attack on someone, it has to be something like that. It sounds like organized crime to me.
It does. It really does. It absolutely sounds like organized crime. So in 1947, George and Jennie actually sent a letter to the FBI and received a reply from J. Edgar Hoover himself. Wow. Although I would like to be of service, the matter related appears to be of local character and does not come within the investigative jurisdiction of this bureau.
Please.
Hoover's agents said they would assist if they could get permission from the local authorities, but the Fayetteville police and fire departments declined the offer, right? Because they don't want, the big shots coming in and telling them they fucked up the investigation.
They actually don't like
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
No, and even to this day, they don't like it when the feds, that's why you always hear them, like, when the feds come in, they don't, the local authorities and state authorities don't like it when the feds come in and kind of take over because, the feds kind of got that higher seniority there. But the FBI was like, sorry, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to help in this investigation, which I think there is plenty of, at least witness testimonies and evidence, circumstantial evidence to suggest that they did not perish in this fire. They can't prove the other way. They can't 100% prove they died in the fire.
No. And I don't know. I really think that's so odd because I'm sure people have done tons of research on this. People who've really investigated this. And they've looked for similar cases, similar fires. And it's not like there's evidence of other fires. Are there? Where people just completely are gone?
Not like this. That's what makes this so weird and just so mysterious and unexplained. It's like, what? 5? All 5? What are the chances? That right there is just the craziest thing about it, I think. So the next thing that the Sodder parents did is they turned to a private investigator named C.C. Tinsley, who discovered that the insurance salesman who had threatened George was a member of the coroner's jury that deemed the fire accidental. That's weird. Mm-hmm. So the guy that made those threats was somehow affiliated with the coroner's office, who ended up just ruling this flat out in an accidental
This is some conspiracy, dude. This is really weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just are like, that's the thing, right? Is a lot of people aren't open-minded enough to just think about all the possibilities. They're like, this was definitely a fire. It's the only thing that's logical, makes sense. It's most evidence for this. That's it.
A lot of people are uncomfortable with not having an answer.
Right. Well, yeah, that's totally what it is.
I'm fine with that.
People want answers. They don't want unanswered.
It could have been a fire. It could have been something else. I don't think anyone has any way to prove it either way. I really want to know what you guys think. I definitely want to hear in the comments. And don't think we don't read the comments, because we do.
We really do. We actually, I read ratings, reviews, comments. I read all of it because I like to get feedback and see what you guys think.
I actually really look forward to it. It's one of my favorite things is the first, especially the first hour of commenters, because it's always the nicest people. So I always just love seeing what you guys think of this type of stuff, because we only have our opinions. And people always have their own personal info that they know something, or it's just interesting to read.
Everybody's an expert on something, right? Everybody knows a lot about something.
Yeah.
So when it's that something that you're really into, please share it. Please enlighten us all. Mm-hmm. Share the knowledge, share the wealth. If you got some,
or if
secrets
you have a theory.
If you got a new theory or something, that's what this is all about. Is just open-minded ideas and thinking and critical thinking. That's all being a conspiracy theorist is critical thinking about, questioning the official report. That's literally all it is.
We need a new word for conspiracy theorists. We need
it's just been so,
wokist. Just kidding.
I am a wokist. Yeah, no. Conspiracy just has been ruined by the, the stigma around it.
Well, people think that the word conspiracy means it's possibly fake. And that's not true.
Right. Yeah.
Theory
totally.
means
a lot
it's
of people
possibly
think
fake,
that,
but conspiracy is just a crime with more than 2 people working on it. An organized
conspiring
crime.
To do something.
Yeah.
It's just multiple things conspiring to do something.
More than one person in any type of organized event.
Right.
That was staged to look like something else.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, it's not but this is.
Absolutely.
This is conspiracy land. And this isn't theory land.
Well, yeah, because there could have been a group really conspiring to murder this entire family by burning down their house with them in it or something else.
It's so hard because like we don't know anything about this guy either, the father. For all we know, he could have like made up that someone came to his house and like threatened him.
I mean, how do we know he didn't do all of this stuff? Like, how did we know he didn't like...
It's just like, why would you keep
it
up?
But why? Yeah, why? Like, what's the motive? Like, there's no motive for him to want to do that to his family, you know?
It seems more likely that something really did happen and that foul play was
involved.
All
the witness statements and all the people that were, you know, they had experiences and encounters with prior to the fire and stuff is just like too weird to ignore. Yeah. It's like, we can't just be like, oh, that was coincidence and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really pushes you that direction. You know, you're like, this starting to make more sense because this guy literally said, I'm gonna fucking burn your house down and kill your children. So, got to take it seriously, I think.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, like, once you say that right away.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did it and just never got recorded, or you know, maybe nobody ever heard that. I'm sure if
he was here, he could tell us like.
Can we recall him from history and
from the dead?
Seriously, like. I mean, if we could do that.
I heard like creepy noises earlier. I don't need no spirits in this house. I've saged it plenty of times for a reason. Didn't want to have a repeat of the apartment situation.
Yeah, I feel you. Only positive energy here.
Yeah.
But anyways, so this investigator also heard a interesting story from a Fayetteville minister about the fire chief, F.J. Morris. And although Morris had claimed no remains were found, he supposedly confided that he discovered a heart in the ashes. He hid it inside a dynamite box and buried it at the scene.
Why, though?
What? Like, maybe.
That doesn't...
I mean, that's a pretty wild claim. I mean...
Yeah. What?
And in fact, the investigator persuaded the fire chief to show them the spot. Together, they dug up the box and took it straight to a local funeral director who poked and prodded the heart and concluded it was beef liver, untouched by the fire. Soon afterward, the Sodders heard rumors that the fire chief had told others that the contents of the box had not been found in the fire at all, that he had buried the beef liver in the rubble in the hope that finding any remains would placate the family enough to stop the investigation.
Why?
Boom. Conspiracy.
Yeah, he wanted to stop it. Wow. Did he really think he was going to get away with just trying to pretend some beef liver was heart?
Fuckery back then, man.
I know. People tried it.
They tried. They went for it. They're like, I could pull this off. I'm gonna make them think that we found, you know, some remains of their kids, so we can just like close this case and move on with it, look like heroes, and you know, we did a good job or whatever. That's fucking weird. I mean, that just fuels the conspiracy flames, you know. It's like
absolutely.
So over the next few years, the tips and leads continued to come in. George saw a newspaper photo of school children in New York City and was convinced that one of them was his daughter Betty. He actually drove to Manhattan in search of the child, but her parents refused to speak to him. Probably was like, who the fuck? The hell, dude?
Baby snatcher. I would say the same thing. Like, nope, sorry, this came out of my body. It is not yours. You don't need to see it. Unless it really was her, but what are the chances?
Yeah. And then in August 1949, the Sodders decided to mount a new search at the scene of the fire and brought in Washington, D.C. pathologist named Oscar B. Hunter, which I'm like, this far, like this much later, like you didn't think to like maybe bring in an expert like immediately after the fire? Like,
yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is like nowadays, you know, that would have been like the method of this would have been, as far as being investigated, would have been, you know, obviously way different.
So has anyone thought of the theory that the kids just left and started the fire themselves? Like maybe they were abused for all we know and they left.
And kill the rest of their family though? And how would they know to cut the phone line and dismount the car?
Sorry, that makes no sense. I'm just trying to like think creatively. I'm trying to think critically, okay, Josh?
Okay.
Don't discourage my critical.
All right. You're welcome to theorize whatever you want.
Okay.
All right, so this pathologist did another thorough excavation in which they uncovered several small objects, damaged coins, a partly burned dictionary, and several shards of vertebrae.
Ooh, weird.
Pathologists sent the bones to the Smithsonian Institution, which issued the following report. The human bones consist of 4 lumbar vertebrae belonging to one individual. Since the transverse recesses are fused, the age of this individual at death should have been 16 or 17 years.
Were any of the kids that age?
No.
Oh, weird.
The top limit of age should be about 22, since the centra, which normally fuse at 23, are still unfused. On this basis, the bones show greater skeletal maturation than one would expect for a 14-year-old boy, which is the oldest missing Sodder child. It is, however, possible, although not probable, for a boy 14 and a half years old to show 16 to 17 maturation.
Okay.
So the vertebrae showed no evidence that they had been exposed to fire, the report also said. And it is very strange that no other bones were found in the allegedly careful evacuation of the basement of the house. Excavation. Noting that the house reportedly burned for only about half an hour or so, it's said that one would expect to find the full skeletons of the 5 children rather than only 4 vertebrae. The bones, the report concluded, were most likely in the supply of dirt George used to fill in the basement to create the memorial garden for his children. So that's just like weird. Like, where did that come from? Whose vertebrae is that? I mean, so a lot of people just say like that was probably the oldest one.
Yeah. I mean,
but again, why was there not any trace at all of the other 4?
I don't know. That's so weird.
In only a half hour, it allegedly burned. Like, it would have had to have burned in like
so fast. There's no way. There's no
temperature.
Way. There's
insane
no way.
temperature.
There's no fucking way.
I just don't understand. Like, this had to have been
maybe they like just engulfed it in like gasoline.
Maybe
and stuff, and it
was
got
like a 25,000 degree fire.
But
somehow.
why would they like want to make it hotter?
So that they could get that there would be no evidence of it. Yeah, because if you get the fire hot enough, then you can. But even then, like it takes longer than that usually to cremate bodies like today, like in these like specialized ovens and stuff. Like just creepy. A house fire for it to get hot enough for 30 minutes that can disintegrate 5 bodies is what the hell? Just I don't know. I think it's a bit of a reach. I really do.
Yeah, I do too.
30 minutes? Like
I just don't believe that.
And I mean, we don't know for sure if it only burned for 30 minutes. That's the thing is like, we don't know anything for sure. We don't know anything for sure. Like how long did it actually burn? How hot was it?
Yeah.
Where was it burning? Was it burning where they were? Like, where were they in
there's
the
probably
house?
a lot of hearsay in this. And it's hard with these older cases to like figure out exactly what happened.
So, and it obviously didn't help that George bulldozed the house's foundation a few days after the fire.
Yeah, dude.
Because that
really
could have like maybe there was, that's what a lot of people think, right? Is that there was more evidence of the remains, which there totally could have been. There could have been ash, or could have been fragments, and he could have actually moved them.
And then maybe he thought that like it would look good on his part to be looking for them. I don't know though.
I just don't know why you would like.
Why? Why would you leave some of them and not all of them?
And like it all goes back to like what was George's thinking through this time? Like, did he really think for the first couple days that his children just burned in this fire? And like his immediate reaction is to bulldoze it, like to build. Like, why do you like?
Maybe he just felt uncomfortable that their ashes were just sitting there.
I think that's what it was. Is like he was, out of respect, and
maybe it's like how he was dealing with his grief,
right,
and you never know how people. But it is definitely a little suspicious, I'd say. I don't know. That was always my first thought with this. I always thought the Sodder children were killed by their dad. But I didn't know nearly enough about it to like fully make a real decision. But that's what I had always like kind of thought from what I did know about it. Because it would make sense, like getting rid of the crime scene. If you killed multiple kids.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Yeah.
Because still, how did he make the bodies like disappear?
Well, that's the thing. And so the main evidence and support for they were, cremated in this house fire is that the fire may have engulfed it and burned really, really hot for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever. But then it as fires die down, they still smolder and the smolderings are still really hot. And apparently there was coal stored in the basement. So it's possible that it could have been prolonged. The fire could have been prolonged, could have been even hotter because the coal is fueling as well.
But still.
So
nothing, even
could
a
be
tooth,
possible, could be possible.
A fingernail, a piece of
but
hair,
then
nothing.
All five, yeah.
It's really weird.
It's crazy to think that, all the circumstances were like just right for this particular time. And
unless the kids were never even in the fire.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? And they actually created like wanted posters. Here's a picture of a wanted poster for the 5 missing children. $5,000 reward.
That was a big deal back then.
Were they kidnapped, murdered? Question mark is on this poster, and it says mysteriously disappeared, missing since December 24th, 1945. Mr. and Mrs. George Sodder of Fayetteville, West Virginia, offers $5,000 reward. So they really thought there was a chance that they could be out there, and so they created this wanted sign. But the Smithsonian report prompted 2 hearings at the Capitol in Charleston, after which the governor, O.K.L. Patterson, and the state police superintendent, W.E. Burchett, told the Sodders their search was hopeless and declared the case closed. So, I honestly believe that they did that. Like, they were ruthless. Like, back then, not, like you wouldn't, the government would never do that to you, like you today, because they'd get backlash for it. But
because people can like.
So they were like, yeah, case is closed. Media. We did our investigation. Like, you're just like being a crazy conspiracy nut,
Yeah, get out of our way.
But that didn't stop George and Jennie. They actually created a billboard along Route 16 and passed out flyers. And they actually increased the reward amount to $10,000, which back then, that's a lot of money. So, they really felt like they could be out there. Clearly, I mean, they're offering $10,000 reward. That's a lot of money back then.
Mm-hmm. What would that be today? You should look it up.
$10,000 to, let's see, $10,000 to today. All right.
That's in euros. Wait, change it to.
Hang on, I think I can change it here. Start year. 1945. Calculate.
Inflation rate.
So equivalent to the purchasing power of $140,000.
Interesting. Okay, so that was a
big old.
So they really believed that their kids were gone, dude.
That's the thing about it, is like the parents really believe this clearly.
Unless they were like, or he was like, we'll offer a ridiculous amount because we know we'll never have to give it to anyone because no one knows except for us. But it'll make us look like we didn't do anything. But they didn't have any suspicion. Like, no one was like tapping at their door like, hey, this was weird. I don't think you'd cause like all of this if you did it yourself. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it just sounds like too much of a, just something too hard to like pull off. Yeah, exactly. So interestingly enough, a letter arrived from a woman in St. Louis saying the oldest girl, Martha, was in a convent there, or like a church monastery type thing. Another tip came from Texas, where a patron in a bar overheard an incriminating conversation about a long ago Christmas Eve fire in West Virginia. Wow. Someone in Florida claimed the children were staying with a distant relative of Jennie's. George traveled the country to investigate each lead, always returning home without any answers. Wow. So with any case out there, especially any like missing person case, lots of leads come in, but oftentimes they're just kind of
not helpful.
They don't lead to anything, there's it's just people thinking they're seeing somebody that isn't really who they're looking for.
Or they think they have something that's helpful, but it's really not.
Right. Or it's just not credible. There's no way to back up the claim. Mm-hmm. So in 1968, so more than 20 years after the fire, Jennie went to the mail and found an envelope addressed only to her. It was postmarked in Kentucky, but had no return address. And inside was a photo of a man in his mid-20s. On the flip side of the letter, a cryptic handwritten note read, Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. Lil Boys 890132 or 35 on the note, which is just weird. Yeah, like cryptic message. And Jennie and George couldn't deny the resemblance to their Louis, who was 9 at the time of the fire, which this guy is in his mid-20s. So I guess they were probably, but that's the thing, is like, if it was remotely any similar resemblance as far as like hair color, eye color, like how do you know what he would look like age progress? Like, we don't know for sure. They couldn't age progress somebody back then.
No. Well, they could now, but.
Right. But back then, like if you just got a letter
of
somebody,
your child.
But I feel like as a mom, you'd probably be able to like kind of tell if it was your son or not, even if you saw him 20 years later.
Yeah, and she thought it was.
So,
maybe it was something like with human trafficking.
Well, that's the thing, right? So, beyond the obvious similarities, dark curly hair, dark brown eyes, they had the same straight, strong nose, the same upward tilt of the left eyebrow. And once again, they hired a private detective and sent him to Kentucky. And they never heard from him again.
The detective?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, weird. It's not good.
So there's the alleged photo of the older brother. It's either Lewis or Louis. I think it's Lewis. I'm pretty sure Lewis Sodder. But the Sodders feared that if they published the letter or the name of the town on the postmark, they might harm their son. That's interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Which makes sense because they'd be like, maybe somebody's like, we have him. Here's proof.
Yeah, but what do they want?
But that's the thing, like why the cryptic note? Yeah, like it almost seems like somebody might be fucking with them. That would be my
and people
thought.
Do that. It's so weird how so many people do that kind of stuff. Like they just hear about a family that's like struggling and they're like, oh, let me fuck with them.
Yeah, I'm going to send them on a wild goose chase from some photo, you know? But it was interesting that she actually did see some similarities and stuff.
Yeah.
So the Sodders feared that if they, instead they amended the billboard to include the updated image of Lewis and hung an enlarged version over the fireplace. Time is running out for us, George said in an interview, but we only want to know if they did die in the fire. We want to be convinced. Otherwise, we want to know what happened to them. George died in 1969. Jennie and her surviving children, except John, who never talked about the night of the fire except to say that the family should accept it and get on with their lives, continued to seek answers to their questions about the missing children's fate. So there was one family member that was like, that's what happened. You guys just got to get over it. Like move on with your life. Stop trying to, keep seeking answers that may not be there.
Well, I mean, like in a way that would make sense. Like you would try to convince someone because like you don't want to see them just go crazy over it if you think there's no hope.
Right. Totally. Yeah. But after George's death, Jennie stayed in the family home, putting up a fence around it and adding additional rooms. And for the rest of her life, she wore black in mourning and tended the garden at the side of the former house. After her death in 1989, the family finally took the weather-worn billboard down. So all the way up to her death, she was mourning for children, hoping that they're out there. I can't even imagine the pain.
Oh my God, I seriously can't. I think that's the worst
losing
thing
5
in the
of your
world.
children, half of your family.
Not even just losing them, but thinking that they could be out there. Like that's just not knowing what happened is is such an awful thing.
Yeah, just having this like question in your head at all times.
Like imagine, how like something will happen in your life that's stressing you out, and every time it comes to your mind, you just like get this like feeling of like you just sink. You're like, oh, I'm so stressed out about this. Imagine that, but like your kid is missing and could be being tortured somewhere. Like you have no idea, so your mind just runs wild. Like that's what always gets me with these missing persons cases. I feel so sorry for their family that just don't know, because if they can just bury them and move on, it sounds weird, but that's better,
right?
Because they can at least have
closure and try to move on with life. And
guessing what happened to your loved one is got to be probably the worst thing in the world. I really cannot truly imagine. I would rather die than have to go through that. Seriously.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy at all. Not at all.
I don't know how these people like function. I'd have to be like sedated.
Yeah, it'd be insane. But the surviving Sodder children, joined by their own children, continued to publicize the case and investigate leads. They, along with older Fayetteville residents, have theorized that the Sicilian mafia was trying to extort money from George.
Ooh.
And the children may have been taken by someone who knew about the planned arson and said they would be safe if they left the house. And they may have possibly been taken back to Italy. Wouldn't that be crazy? Huh?
They could have been.
If the children had survived all those years and were aware that their parents and siblings had survived too, the family believes they may have avoided contact in order to keep them from harm. Wow. Definitely possible.
That's intense, dude.
Definitely possible. So, I mean, to kind of recap this case, question number 1, was the fire accidental or arson?
I think it was arson.
I do too. And based on the debris, It doesn't seem that the blaze ever reached temperatures of 14 to 1800 degrees, and it didn't even last for 2.5 hours, which is needed to fully cremate the bodies.
So
I don't know
the
how
bodies weren't even in there to begin with.
That's what it seems like to me.
Weird.
I mean, based upon the science, really. I mean,
yeah, that's why I'm really wondering, like, how big of an anti-Mussolini person he was. Like, was he organizing anything? And it's possible he knew stuff and he was going to, like, leak stuff and they were threatening him.
Yeah, I mean,
there could be something missing for this story that would make it make more sense that he can't, like, say in fear
it's
of,
never
like,
been
something
spoken
else
or something. Right. Well, totally.
Because this sounds like something they would do to you for revenge or to threaten you from saying something.
Totally. Absolutely.
Because I doubt he was like, oh, you didn't buy my insurance, bitch. I'm going to light your house on fire. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Clearly something else happened, and George didn't really say, it sounds like, what exactly went down.
No.
So why wouldn't he, like, explain more?
Well, he died, like, pretty, like, early on, like.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, I mean, he had opportunities to, like, come out and be like, hey, this is going on. You know, they're threatening me. They're telling me this, you know, or it could
or just afterwards
let us into the secrets or whatever.
But it's because he could be threatened and he could know.
Absolutely.
Or like, hey, we have your kids and we'll kill them.
And I mean, yeah, totally. It's crazy. I mean, to me, I'm like, what if too bad we don't still have that like bone fragment of the vertebrae that they found. Like we could test the DNA on that and that would really like.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, if we found out that vertebrae fragment was one of the children, then I think it would be, you know, kind of swing more to all of them died in a fire. You know, because if we're like, well, this person basically disintegrated, so why couldn't the others? But that's a huge question mark for sure. Also, like you just said, were all the children even inside the house when the fire started? And this all depends on the accuracy of John's memory because he stated to the police that the children were in their beds, but it's unclear whether he called out to them from the bedroom door opening or that he touched and shook each child to wake them up. It's one of the other brothers. Uh-huh. Why did their remains disappear? Or if not, how could 5 children disappear from a house where the older sister slept on the sofa in the living room, where the front door was located? Right?
Yeah.
Why didn't that Marion wake up?
Yeah.
Like if they were like went in and taken out of the house, why would she not have been taken or woken up or known?
That's like the weirdest part because like it wouldn't make sense up until that. I kept thinking about that too.
Because that kind of like sends people back to the fire away. They're like, well, she would have had to have known if they were. But again, what if they were never in there in the first? Like, what if they never were in their rooms, or maybe they went out their windows somehow? Or I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I mean, that basically wraps up the mystery of this. And, you know, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of bloggers and things like that have kind of like tried to dig it deeper and reach out to the fire chief and things like that, try to find more clues and look into the family a bit more. Cause I think that's where you got to look is like, you got to look deeper into the family and who they're associating with. Like you said,
what he was involved
investigate this like mafia connection possibly.
So do you think they're still doing any investigative work on it, or is it just closed now?
I'm pretty sure the case is closed. I'm pretty sure it's closed. It's not an open case. I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you didn't solve it by now, probably not going to.
So I mean, and that's the thing is there's still like more conflicting reports about various things about the phone wires, how they have never been adequately explained. Also that according to police and FBI records, at one point the Sodders thought one of Jennie's brothers had the children in Florida and her own relatives were investigated and they had to prove their children were their own.
Weird.
Also, Fire Chief Morris was the one who was told to take care of the remains that were found on Christmas morning. And if you question the judgment of the fire marshal about leaving something so important in the hands of a volunteer, it'd be you could expect that Morris's story about burying the remains was possibly a story he made up to cover up the fact that he had threw the remains away or just left them there.
Yeah.
Then when George asked him to show him where he buried them, Morris buried the beef liver there. so that there'd be something to dig up. That could totally be true.
Yeah.
So the conspiracy deepens that like maybe there was like a cover up by, somehow fire departments involved, or I mean, there's like all these different theories. But no physical evidence survives to this day, and the scene of the fire was contaminated when George bulldozed the site. So even if there was another excavation of the site today, which it wouldn't hurt to do, but what would we find? Would there be anything to find at this point? Like this much, longer in time. And the thing about it too is like a lot of the people that these people are still like investigating, web sleuths love this case.
Yeah.
That's why they love to try to like dig deeper and see if they can solve it. I'm sure we'll have some very
opinionated commenters.
Oh, absolutely.
They are very stuck in their theories.
But yeah, I mean, that people have tried to go talk to people, but a lot of people aren't alive anymore that would have been associated with this. Yeah. So.
Wow, this is like a real cold case.
Yeah. And I mean, the other theories that are out there, we already mentioned some, possibly abducted by an illegal like child agent, like a human trafficking type organization, poisoning the entire family through food or water. Really isn't that realistic.
No.
But somebody theorized that. Someone made contact with the children who disappeared. They were promised something that if they came outside on Christmas Eve to get something or see something or eat something, then somehow they were grabbed and taken away.
Like John Bonet.
Possibly like that, like lured out, like it's possible. Like,
but all five,
like
I would like, not. If
you would,
I always had this
that,
plan, like if someone tried to kidnap me, that I'd be like, okay, I want to, but I'm gonna go ask my parents, and then they'd save me. I feel like they wouldn't just go out there.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Is I'm like, this would have been a busy house. I just keep thinking of like Cheaper by the Dozen type family, like how much activity would be happening, and like wouldn't like the other family members like remember more, like remember seeing them like march, all five of them like march out, but could they? But then the fire started, like maybe they.
But you would think that they would have like seen them or heard them screaming or like.
And how are 5 children gonna like
just silently die?
Silently like creep out of a house with. Yeah. Right past Marion out the front door.
Or just burn silently. Like, wouldn't you hear them screaming?
Yeah, or
and
that too. Yeah, like
why open the windows or I don't know.
Yeah, did they?
I don't know, man.
Anything?
This is a weird one.
It's very weird.
We definitely want to know your guys' thoughts on this because this is is a strangey.
What do you think happened to the Sodder children, the 5 missing children? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna lean towards the conspiracy side of things. I just don't know if the fire could have been hot enough for long enough to disintegrate 5 bodies.
I don't think so either. And I obviously can't say with 100% certainty because I'm not experienced with fire, but
it seems
to me that
like
sounds really weird. And I've never heard of someone's body just like disappearing other than in a crematory.
Yeah.
A crematory? Is that a right word?
It is a right word. I just wanted her to say hello, but that is it for us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, give us a like. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, iTunes. We really do appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you guys out there for listening, for supporting us through all the various ways. You can always leave us a rating review. That helps us as well. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll have another spooky, interesting episode for you next week. Hopefully you enjoyed this.
Yeah, we're going to take it up a level. Even spookier.
But we're about to take it a mile higher next week.
Yeah.
And then another mile higher next week. So get ready. But
get ready.
That's it for us. Stay safe as always.
And don't forget to check out my coloring book on Amazon. It is fun to color while you listen to podcasts. Trust me.
It is. All right, guys. We will see you next time.
Yes.
Stay woke.